Hi to everyone. Good evening. I will read you story. I have read it some days ago from the same book, but I didn't have. No, I had time, but sometimes I try to make a video, but I have not so much memory in my phone. That's why I didn't do it. So today I decided to read this story. This story called Witches Lovers. So during this story I will explain new words, and then we will try to answer questions in the end of this text. So this woman, Miss Marta, Miss Marta, she is she had her own bakery. So, Miss Martha Mitchman had a small bakery. She was neither very rich nor very poor. She had $2,000 in the bank. Miss Martha was 40 years old. She had a kind heart, and only two of her teeth were false. Although she was still unmarried, she hoped to get married sometime. 2 or 3 times a week, a customer came into buy some bread. He was a middle-aged man with a beard, and he wore glasses. Beard, it means in man chin rose a beard. Rise a beard. This is a beard. Soon Miss Marta began to take an interest in him. He spoke English with a strong German accent. His clothes were old but clean, and he had good manners. He always bought 2 loaves of stale bread. 2 loaves, it means bread. Stale bread, it means not fresh bread. Uh, Fresh bread was 5 cents for a loaf. Stale bread was 2 loaves for 5 cents. The customer neither bought fresh bread. Once Miss Marta saw red and brown stains on his hands. Stains, it means how to say footprint, not footprint, part of the paint on your hands when you draw something painting. So you had stains. She was sure that he was an artist and he very poor. She was sure he lived in a cold room where he painted his pictures. He ate stale bread and thought of good things that were sold in Miss Martha's bakery. When she sat down in the dinner and had tea or jam, she used to think of the poor artist with the good manners and feel sorry for him. She wanted to share all the good she had with the well-mannered man. I have told you already that Miss Martha was a kind-hearted woman. One day she bought from her room a picture that she had bought many years before. With its help, she hoped to find out whether the man were really artist or not. It was Venetian skin. There was a beautiful palace in the picture. Palace, it's a luxury house where king and princess live. How to explain? Yes, gondolas, young ladies, the moon and the stars. She hung the picture on the wall of the bakery that artists could notice it. 2 days passed. The customer came in for bread. 2 loaves of stale bread, please. You have here fine picture, madam, he said, taking the bread from her. Miss Martha was very happy to hear these words. Do you think it's a good picture? She said. Well, he said, the palace is not so good. The perspective is not true. Good morning, madam. Good morning, they said when they want to say goodbye. Some English people say good morning instead of this. And he took his bread and left. Yes, he must be an artist, Miss Martha was sure of it now. She took the picture back to her room. How kindly his eyes shone behind his glasses. How clever he was. He saw the perspective at once. and he has eat stale bread only, but artists often have to struggle before they become famous. So it means struggle. The artist must work very hard before they become famous. How she wanted to be of some help to him. She wanted to keep house for him, to share with him all good things she had in her bakery. She even ready to share her $2,000 with him. Time went out. Sometimes he talked to her for a few minutes. He bought only stale bread as before. He never bought a cake or a loaf or fresh bread. She thought he began to look thinner, and because she thought he didn't eat enough. It was clear to her he didn't eat enough. He was starving. Starving, it means people who don't live or don't eat enough food. They hungry, starving. How she wished to add something good to the stale bread he ate. But she knew poor artist very proud, and she was afraid to make him angry. Miss Marta began to wear her new dress in the bakery. She also bought some cold cream to make her face a little more beautiful. One day the customer came as usual and asked for stale loaves. While Miss Marta was getting them from the shelf, the siren of fire engine was heard. The customer ran to the door to look. He go away to the street to look what happened. Suddenly a bright idea came to Miss Marta. One of the shelves, there was a pound of butter she had bought in the morning. With her bread knife, Miss Marta made a deep cut in each of the stale loaves. Then she quickly took a big piece of butter into each cut and pressed loaf together again. When the customer turned from the door, she was wrapping the loaves in the paper. As usual, he said a few pleasant words to her and left. After he had gone, Miss Marta smiled to herself. She was happy she did this. But she was not sure. Had she the right to do such things? Who knows? Artists have their pride. Will he be angry with her? Still, the more she thought of, the more she became sure that the customer would not be angry. For a long time she thought about him. Now he come home, he sit down to his dinner with stale bread and water. Now he cut a loaf, and she will see butter. Miss Marta blushed. Will he think of the hand that put the butter in the bread? Will he thank her in the heart? Suddenly the front door bell rang loudly. Somebody was coming and making a lot of noise. Miss Marta hurried to the door. Two men were there. One was a young smoking a pipe. She had never seen him before. The other was her artist. His face was very red. His head was on the back of his head. His eyes looked at her angrily. He raised his fists and shook them into Miss Marta's face. Damkov! It's not polite word. It means, like on Russian, it will be dura. He shouted very loudly and angrily. Them, Düsseldorfer, of something like that in German, not polite. The young man tried to pull him away. I will not go, the artist shouted. I want to tell her all. You have spoiled everything, he cried. I want to tell you, you were a meddlesome old cat. Meddlesome, it means somebody put his nose not in his business. Miss Marta was